Hi guys, my name is Kieran of One Zen Academy. Thank you for joining me. Today I'm just going to give a brief description and talk about gut health. What it is, why it's important, why am I bother talking about it? It's because it's a massive deal. More research comes out about this every day. It gets me pumped in the morning. I know, nerd alert, but the things that we find out about the gut every day are fantastic and actually mind-blowing. So gut health, just to put it into perspective, this will make you feel better about yourself. We've got about 26,000 genes in our body. Brilliant, sounds awesome, that's a lot, that's a big number. But when we appreciate rice has 46,000, it's a bit of a bummer. Rice is infinitely more complex and involved than us. Wow, okay, so why are we here and that rice is rice? Well, me plus my gut bacteria equals about 100,000 genes. So we have this symbiotic relationship in that we help each other out. There's about 4,000 different species of bacteria, and within that there's about 36,000 different strains. All in all, there's about 100 trillion bacteria in your gut right now. 90% of you is bacteria. So there's like a whole universe in your gut that's keeping you, you. So how can it not influence our health? How can it not influence who we are? Well, we're finding out through various research means that it does, influences everything you are, which is why it's crucial to know about. So 90% of us is bacteria, but 80% of our immune system is also the bacteria. So if you're suffering from illness on a regular basis, one of the current theories on immunity is to do with gut bacteria and the different strains and whether there's a balance between a gut bacteria or imbalance. So it's quite a useful area and stuff that we can do now to get on top of addressing that balance. So why is gut bacteria healthy? I know, did you see that little switch around there? State of the art, I know. So why is gut bacteria healthy? So it's actually linked to mental health. So things like depression, Alzheimer's is a big area at the moment. Other mental ill health disorders. We know 1 in 4 people currently has a mental ill health disorder or issue. So we know it's a big deal in the UK and globally. We know that male suicide rates are through the roof. We know last year there was about 6,000 male suicides, and to put in our perspective with regards to road traffic accidents, we're about 1,500. So we know it's a massive, massive deal. We know full well that in mice studies that they're able to transfer some fecal matter, i.e. poo, from a cat into a mouse, and it made the mouse actually not scared of cats anymore. Obviously to the detriment of that mouse, because cats like to catch and eat mice. But the point was that bacteria from a cat actually influenced the thought process of a mouse. I appreciate that's an animal study, but when they've studied it in humans, they actually have the ability to influence or decrease our mood, which is quite profound when you think about it. We know it influences behaviour and mood. IBS, digestive disorders, get heavily influenced through the types of bacteria that we have in our gut. But what causes this dysbiosis? And we know that dysbiosis is the imbalance between the bacteria. So too much processed food, sugar, processed and refined fats. And I'm not talking about the fats you get from everyday naturally occurring foods, and I'm not talking about the sugar from veg or fruit. I'm talking about the over-refined sugar, the over-refined fat that's been stripped of nutrition. And I'm not talking about, in this instance, I'm not getting into the debate about obesity and stuff. I'm talking about health. Okay, that's all I'm really concerned about is health. And we know that when we increase the amount of refined sugars and fat or processed foods, we upset the balance of the gut bacteria, not in our favour either. Okay, and this may lead to influence behaviour and mood and further disease states further afield. Now it's an area they're currently researching, so I'm not necessarily going to say, oh, this will definitely lead to that at this point. But it's looking that way. Chronic stress, I'm sure we can appreciate the effects of chronic stress are phenomenal and widespread. And it's really the things that we don't deal with that tend to be the issue. So we're looking at chronic stress, and we're looking at chronic stress then over time. Okay, the time element is a massive factor in disease states. And we know that the gut wall changes. So normally there's a layer on the gut wall which becomes a lot thinner and allows food particles and all sorts to transverse or cut across or through that gut wall. So you now have big bits of food in your bloodstream that shouldn't be there. This in turn then causes an immune response. So your body thinks, wow, what's this asteroid doing in our bloodstream? We need to get rid of it. So you may then get gut bloating, you may then get a lot of offshoots from that in the digestive issues. And that's just through a limited amount of stress can cause that. And we know that IBS sufferers suffer more when stress is there. Okay, it's not necessarily a coincidence on that one. We also know that it can affect how much stress I'm under, will affect the promotion of certain bacteria over the others. Like E. coli loves lactate, and we produce a lot of lactate through anaerobic means, i.e. without oxygen. So if I'm really stressed, breathing rate changes, and we actually reduce oxygen rate, which increases slightly lactic acid. And this lactic acid can be like a feeding ground for E. coli. So we know that just on that one strain that it can get out of balance. We actually don't know what the other 4,000 or 36,000 strains might occur because of that. So worth considering that chronic stress comes up in most disease states and in most health issues. Okay, so we know it's a big deal. Not enough exposure to bacteria. It sounds a bit ironic, really, that this imbalance between bacteria is because I'm not getting enough bacteria. But we know full well I'll give you an example, in people, in women that have given birth through natural means, i.e. through the birth canal, the baby actually scrapes their lip along the birth canal and actually ingests a lot of bacteria from their mother. And this is actually the start of their immune system. If it's through C-section, on the hospitals that are really on it, they'll take a swab from the mother's birth canal and they'll put it through the gums, because they realise actually it greatly affects your immune system and health later in life. And this is stuff that we didn't really know before, but even from birth, even when you're in your mother's womb, can determine a lot of this health moving forward. So we know that exposure just to being outside, having kids actually play in the dirt, we may think, it terrifies me, what if they pick up this, what if they pick up that? We've got to appreciate the immune system actually learns. It learns by doing. So yes, early on when my little boy went to preschool, he picked up every bug. But at the same time, knowing what I know, I knew ultimately that's a good thing, because if he's picking up all these strains of bacteria, these bugs, these viruses, his immune system is learning constantly, which will improve his health in the long term. So I encourage my kid and myself and anyone who listens really to get outside, go into nature, go into the wild, be around plants, trees, dirt, get stuck in basically. Fresh food, so your fresh food, your fresh veg, your fresh fruit and so on has a natural substance in it that will help the bacteria grow in balance with each other. Fermented foods, you've got things like sauerkraut and such substances like that, like kimchi and so on. Fermented foods will help establish good gut flora. If you don't want any of that, maybe a spoonful of yogurt with the natural bacteria in might be beneficial. But however you can get the bacteria or promote bacteria, one is through challenging and getting on top of chronic stress. One is being active outdoors and establishing fresh food practices. This doesn't sound like anything new, and it's not. Fundamentally, it all comes down to moving more, eating more healthily. Okay, and people often say, "I don't have time for that." Okay, I remember this one woman First day in the fitness industry, I was obviously the dog's body. I was sent out into a supermarket, handing out flyers for the gym. Okay, and I remember this woman, she had about 5 kids around, she batted the leaflets out at me and said, "I don't have time for health." She didn't even look at me, she just said, "I don't have time for health." It was such a profound statement that actually directed my career to this point, actually. And when you think about that statement, "I don't have time for health," and I was always taught an actual saying, if you don't make time for health, you will make time for illness. Okay, and this is true with 100% of humans. There's no ifs or buts. If you don't make time now, you're going to pay it later on. Okay, so it's completely up to you. In the UK, we have the healthcare system. Okay, so it's not as massive thing for us, I guess. But if I was living in the US, okay, that may cost me more money in the future. Okay, so it's just balancing it all together, weighing it up. Think about the things that I can change today. Maybe the things that I can't change today, I think about the long-term effect. Okay, but it's food for thought. So my name's been Kieran, One Zen Academy. For more information, please go to www.onezenacademy.com or check us out on Facebook, One Zen Academy, and maybe come to some of our workshops. Cool. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you.